Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and my own mastermind is here with me today. Andy. What's up, Andy?
Oh, I'm the mastermind behind this operation?
You get to be the mastermind today.
Big brain time, big brain time.
Yeah, even though it's not much of a compliment in reference to today's case. I think it's more of like a sarcastic.
I'll take it where I can get it.
It's kind of like when somebody it's kind of like when somebody calls you Einstein, you know?
Yeah, smooth move. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Damn it. Continue with what you were doing then.
But either way, guys, we hope you had some happy holidays and had a happy new year. We are back. We took a week off last week. It was kind of unexpected, but you know, hey, we need some rest too. We need some rest. But we are back and ready to go, and we thought we would ease back into the crime with something a little easier to talk about, right, Andy? This is not exactly a Anthill Kids episode like we did on Patreon a couple weeks ago.
Oh, there's nothing in this episode that's like just scarring my brain and just like clawing to get out.
Not in this episode, unfortunately. But anyways, guys, in our last episode of 2023, before we get into this week, we talked about all of our favorite and most memorable cases from the past year. But this week, to start off 2024, we're going to start with something a little different, but it's something that we've been itching to do for a long time. A heist.
Yes, Michael, yes!
But not just any heist, okay? No. We decided to start our year off with none other than the largest, the dumbest, and the most well-known heist from our hometown, the 1997 Loomis Fargo heist from good old Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ooh, boy, Michael, we get to bring out them southern accents today, boy.
That's right. Maybe take some engagement photos.
Oh, thank you.
We should take some for this episode. Yeah, we can't. We're not going to be able to keep these accents down this week, Andy. I really don't think.
Probably not.
But guys, if you're unfamiliar with the Loomis Fargo heist, it was a robbery that took place in 1997, I believe, when then employee David Ghant loaded up $17 million into a company van one night after his shift, only to then disappear into thin air, leading the FBI on an international manhunt for Ghant, as well as a large-scale investigation into his accomplices, which resulted in 21 people being indicted for the crime, 20 of which pled guilty. It's also the basis for the hit comedy movie Masterminds, which we referenced at the beginning of the episode, starring Zack Galifinakis in the leading role as David Ghant and Owen Wilson as his accomplice, Steve Chambers. I really love that movie, Andy. I just watched it recently.
Oh, it's still actually a fun movie, especially if you're from this area. You're like, oh, I know that.
It's hilarious. The movie was actually shot in Asheville, if you guys are unfamiliar, which I think Asheville makes a brief appearance in this case. I think one of the accomplices or something
It was the
runs
crime.
to Asheville.
No, it's the previous robbery that they found.
The previous robbery.
Yeah, there is another Loomis Fargo robbery that happened in 1997, but it didn't make as big of headlines as this one did because this one was like an international manhunt slash hillbilly heist.
Exactly. A hillbilly heist. Yeah, this sounds like our type of episode, Andy. We might actually pronounce everything right this week.
God dang it, I think we might do that, Michael.
But they do go to Mexico at one point in time, so there'll be something we mess up. Don't worry. It's still going to be a good old True Crime Guys episode. But guys, how about we go ahead and roll that intro and get into this hillbilly heist, shall we, Andy?
I think we can do that, Michael.
A little greed, a little lust, and the timing is just perfect, wouldn't you agree? All I need is a little trust, and I know we can bust out of this life of poverty. Just you and me. They called him a mastermind, but
So we are going back to what people romanticize as like a golden age, back to the 90s, right? It's like people love the 90s now, Andy. Like all of a sudden it was like this amazing romantic time of fashion and booming economy.
Listen, I'm from the 90s. I think it's the premium decade.
You
okay?
think so too?
I'm a 90s kid. I love the 90s.
It's us millennials producing this propaganda, I'm sure.
Listen, 97 was a good year, okay? We got Final Fantasy 7. We had
It's a good year. It's a good year.
It was a good year.
But in the beginning of 1997, a Loomis Fargo employee in Jacksonville, Florida, held one of their trucks at gunpoint, making off with an estimated $18 million in cash. Now, unlike the robbery we're going to be talking about today, the police and FBI were able to catch up with this suspect, coincidentally, also in North Carolina, where he had stashed the stolen money in a storage unit in Asheville.
Yeah, like that's the one we were referencing
Yes,
earlier. It
it
did
is.
go to Asheville, so
Exactly, the Portland of the East Coast.
it's a nice area. It's a nice area.
Fortunately, it is booming. Fortunately for Loomis Fargo, they were able to recover all of the stolen cash from their Jacksonville facility in the storage unit. However, the same cannot be said for the heist that David Ghant would pull off just a few months later. Now, we only bring up this previous robbery for Loomis Fargo as it's speculated by some that this was the event that perhaps inspired Ghant and some of his friends to set their plan into motion.
Oh, this was definitely talked around the water cooler for a while,
and they
Loomis.
even reference this in the movie. If you see this, the actual Steve Chambers and his wife and some friends, including Kelly, who's also involved in this, they're all sitting around, in the living room and seeing this newscast of this guy who robs Loomis Fargo, and they're like, "Wow, that seems like the gig." And also, we can learn from his mistakes, right? How did he get caught? What did he do? And, so, yeah, it could have very well inspired them. It had to have, right? This close, just a few months apart.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it was definitely talked around the office.
Exactly. Now, others are more inclined to believe that the plan was hatched by one of the other main players in this story, Steve Chambers, who I just recently mentioned, as the movie would lead you to believe as well. He was a former small-time crook who had been friends with another employee of Loomis Fargo, Kelly Campbell, who also plays a main part in this whole ordeal. Now, David Ghant was a former Gulf War veteran who had been working for the Loomis Fargo company for the past several years since leaving the military. He was married to his wife, Tammy, who kept David on a very tight leash. Now, David had met Kelly Campbell while working for Loomis Fargo the previous year, and the two of them quickly struck up a friendship. This friendship, however, would soon progress to include romantic feelings. Well, for Ghant at least, who, being love-struck with this new woman and seeing a way to get out of his old life, would soon be ready to make one of the biggest decisions of his entire life.
Oh, David was very much in love with Kelly, and I love the way they portray Tammy in the movie by Kate McKinnon, how she's just like so deadpanned and like creepy with her eyes never moving.
They just took that opportunity to embellish a character, but I love it.
Oh, yeah, I love they even show in the documentary of David and his wife going like shopping, and like Tammy's like counting pennies, and David like brings a comic book over and she's like, "No." He's like, "Aw." I was like, man, they are not painting Tammy well in any of these documentaries.
No, they're
any of these
not.
portrayals.
No, they're not. Not even in the movie.
No.
She's hilarious, though.
I love their little bridal session they do, or their engagement session they do.
Now, whether Kelly or Steve had first brought the idea to David, that's up for debate. But what isn't up for debate is that Steve Chambers was the real mastermind behind this whole plot. Steve would not only be the driving force behind getting the robbery accomplished, but he would also be the one who would get each and every one of them put behind bars in the end. The plan for the night was supposed to be a simple one. On October 4th, a Saturday, Ghant would follow his usual routine and be the last employee to leave the Loomis Fargo facility. After everyone was gone, David would then enter the vault, where he would pack bags of cash before loading them into a van. Then, Ghant was to meet up with Campbell, Chambers, and a third accomplice who was friends with Chambers. They would then drive to a warehouse where the majority of the cash would then be transferred into blue plastic barrels.
This scene looked like when I watched it in the documentary, it almost looked like a Breaking Bad episode. They bring out like the big plastic drums, like the chemical drums, start just loading cash into drums, just like Walter White.
Burying them somewhere.
Yeah, I was like, I see where they got this idea.
Yeah. Even though this was before Breaking Bad.
I see where Breaking Bad got this idea.
Oh, you see where Breaking Bad got the idea.
Just
Yeah,
scraping
yeah.
all the cash into big plastic drums and be like, yeah, we can't fit it all. Let's go, go, go.
Seriously. But Ghant would take a measly $50,000 from the 17 mil, this is the initial plan, and proceed to travel to Columbia, South Carolina with Kelly, where he was to then fly to Mexico and stay there until it was safe for him to return. Now, at first glance, this doesn't look like the worst plan for a robbery. But then again, this wasn't Ocean's 11 either. So it's safe to say that there were a few hiccups along the way.
I mean, it was kind of smart, like the 50 grand. I was confused about that. Like, why would
Yeah.
it take 50 grand? Apparently, that's the max amount you can take across the border without having to like declare it. Or,
Also,
like,
he didn't stash it in his pants like in
Well,
the
he
movie?
did, but like he did.
stashed it
But
in
like
his
there was
pants.
like if he got caught, it was like that's the most money you can bring across. So it's like
Yeah.
it wasn't going to raise any suspicions. But they did like they tried to plan. But yeah, this was not Danny Ocean.
I wonder how accurate the disguise was they used in the movie.
Oh, he
With
he
the
did
wig.
not use it. He did not wear a disguise.
He didn't wear a disguise at all?
He's just in there, just like. Apparently, he got like recognized at the airport, and somebody was like, "Aren't you the?" He got recognized as like a famous tennis player. He's like, "Aren't you this like German tennis player?" He's like, "Nope."
Aren't you Andre Agassi?
He's like, "No, not even. Nope, just eating a sandwich."
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we know what the plan was supposed to be. So let's see how it went down, right? So David went to work that Saturday, just as he had planned. But when he arrived at the facility, he was informed that he was being assigned a trainee for the day. Ooh, those trainees, they always throw a wrench in things. And of course, this trainee would be working alongside him all the way up until lockup that night. So now, David would have to delay his initial 5 p.m. start time until he was able to get his trainee out of the building without drawing any suspicion. Now, for his friends waiting on the outside, they were starting to get a little nervous, thinking that David had maybe started getting cold feet or that he was about to back out of the scheme altogether. However, after a few loving pages sent from Kelly, because, they had pagers back then. They were, they would send those little pages. David started loading the van with confidence.
Oh, the loving text messages? It was literally, they were sending code back and forth. It was like 143, 143.
Just like the movie, 143. It's just a little thing I do.
It's just a little thing I
Just a
do.
little
I
thing
love you.
It means I love you because
Yeah, he's
one letter,
literally
4
in
letters,
the,
3 letters.
He's in the documentary, like looking at his pager. He's like, "Oh, I love you too."
I love you, Kelly. It's going to be me and you in Mexico. But after almost 2 hours, David was finally ready to make his escape from the Loomis Fargo facility. He made a pass back through the offices and made a very valiant attempt to clear out all the security tapes from that night, as well as locking the vault door behind him and taking all of the keys to the facility along with him. He didn't miss anything, Andy, right?
Oh, no, he took a shit ton of keys. I'll tell you that
Yeah,
much.
he took a shit ton of keys. But no, he did miss something very crucial. We say he attempted to clear out the security tapes because, as it turned out, even though David was a supervisor there at Loomis Fargo, he apparently wasn't made aware of all of the security cameras, which I'm sure none of the employees are.
Oh, that's the manager. You can be the assistant to the manager, but you don't get that manager level.
You don't get that manager level. That's the manager recorder, right? That was the manager VCR he didn't know about. As he quickly ransacked the tapes, he failed to notice a separate VCR that was inside a cabinet in the office. This tape would be the first official evidence that would clearly show David Ghant clearing out the Loomis Fargo vault all by his lonesome. And doing the dance, too. He did do that dance. The dance that Zack Galifinakis does in the movie. But after he loads the truck, apparently that was an actual celebratory dance from David.
Yeah, and there's a
owned it.
Reddit AMA David Gant did where he openly says he was like, "I did do the happy dance. They
That's
did get that
hilarious.
right. It's on camera. It's on like the security footage of him just."
Zach had to rehearse that over and over.
He's like, "Is this good, Dave? Is this good? Like
Is
this?
this good? Is it the spin and then the
Then
extend?
twist, pirouette."
Exactly. But once David was finished, he made his exit from the facility with over 2,000 pounds of cold hard cash in the back of a white unmarked van.
You know that thing was just dragging all the
Oh
way
my
out,
God.
just low riding.
Seriously, he filled it to the brim. Now, waiting for him just like they planned, Kelly and Steve would follow David to the warehouse parking lot where they'd planned to hand off the money as well as for David to make his getaway. Kelly would then take David to Columbia, South Carolina, where he would board a plane to Mexico with the $50,000 he was now wearing under his clothes. This left Steve and his friends to try and move all the money from inside the van into the blue barrels that they had brought with them. Unfortunately, this was one of the first hiccups. The barrels were not big enough, or they just didn't bring enough barrels, to hold the cash. So the crew had to leave behind almost $3 million in smaller bills.
Oh, that wasn't even the first hiccup. The first hiccup was as soon as David handed off the key ring to the guy in the back, the guy in the back didn't pay attention to which key was the key of the van. And this was a key ring
Right.
that's like the size of a ring light. It's like a fucking deluxe janitor's master key ring.
It's all of the keys.
It's like 800 keys on this ring, and David's like, "Here you go," and just hops in the car and leaves. And this guy in the back's like, "Oh shit." So they just sit there and they're trying to unlock this car forever. And it's very funny in the documentary to watch the other men start going total caveman and just picking up big rocks and trying to break the windows of this armored van.
They don't have time for this, dude.
It's very funny to watch these men just lose their shit, because apparently they did to start trying to break it in. The guy in the back's like, what are you doing? It's fucking Loomis.
Yeah, what are you going to shoot out the windows next?
Yeah.
But another hiccup that these masterminds ran into was that once Kelly and David got to the Columbia airport that night, they realized that none of them have checked to see if there were any flights to Mexico. Like, kind of crucial. So, there weren't any, Andy. There weren't any. So Steve then told Kelly to drive David down to Atlanta because, for sure, in that larger airport, there'll be at least one international flight available at last minute's notice, and there was. So once David was safely on a flight down to Mexico, the full scope of what he had done was just now coming to light back home. Throughout the rest of the night, Steve and his friends cleaned out the van the best they could before they dumped it in a wooded area not even 10 miles from the Loomis Fargo facility that they had just robbed, leaving behind nearly $3 million in smaller bills, don't forget, but also the missing security tapes that David had taken from inside the office. Each tape had footage of David Ghant and David Ghant alone clearing out the Loomis Fargo vault from all of the different angles.
Oh yeah, they had
all of the angles.
It's like NFL red zone of security cameras.
But for now, the police are at a loss, okay? They know that David Ghant robbed the Loomis Fargo office, but they didn't know if he acted alone or where the hell he was. And by this time, the money had already been moved to the home of Steve Chambers, who lived in Vail, North Carolina with his wife Michelle in a mobile home. The morning after the robbery, David's wife would call to report him missing to the police. She told them that he didn't come home the night before and that she was worried that something might have happened to him. Completely unaware, however, that the police were about to be called to the Loomis Fargo office as well as begin investigating the theft. Now, since the Loomis employees were unable to open the vault the following morning, as David had literally taken all the keys, they had to call the police and a locksmith to come and basically break into their own vault. They had already noticed the missing van as well as David's pickup truck that was still sitting in the parking lot. The movie would lead you to believe it's a Volkswagen Rabbit pickup truck, which I think it's amazing. I would love to have one of those.
It's like, where did you find this?
That is an adorable pickup truck. David was the one who closed up the night before, so he instantly became the number one suspect. An APB was immediately put out for David Ghant, and it didn't seem to anyone that he'd pulled something like this on his own accord. And they started to think that maybe he had been coerced into the crime, or maybe even forced into the crime. Only 2 days later, however, the police would get their first big break when a man out cutting grass spotted the missing Loomis van hidden in the woods. That's about the most North Carolina way to find something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, man, I was out there cutting grass, and I looked over there to my left, and I said, honey, what is that?
What grass were you cutting? It was just out, is that by that warehouse down there? It was just getting overgrown, so I just figured somebody needed to do it.
Somebody need to cut it, and I looked out there, and I said, I'll be darned, there's a van.
There's a white van out there.
There's a white van out there. You see it clear as day. But the police would be unable to open the van once they located it due to the thieves leaving the keys inside and, of course, being an armored vehicle, so they had to have it towed to an impound lot where another locksmith could open the doors. Thank God for locksmiths.
I hope it was the same one from the facility. He was just like, oh yeah, I'll meet you there. Yeah, hold on. I'm goddamn it running this bill up.
And now he knows how to now he knows how to get into every Loomis Fargo vault too, yes. Even their vehicles. But inside, the police were stunned when they found close to the $3 million that was loosely thrown around the van, along with the missing security tapes from the office, as well as David Gant's uniform and service weapon. It was starting to look as if David wanted people to know that he'd committed this crime, or someone else wanted police to think that this was all David. Now, even though they had recovered millions of dollars already from the heist, the remaining $14 million was still in the wind. Now, all this cash was in 20s, 50s, and hundreds, and none of the serial numbers on the bills were in sequential order, nor were the bills marked in any other way. So this was going to make tracing the money almost impossible.
Apparently these were bills that they were they take these bills to like ATM machines and reload them or clear out the ATM machine. These were not like directly from like a bank vault. These were like almost these were in circulation bills. They'd already been taken out.
So you're telling me this is the perfect
bank.
Bills to steal?
Basically, yes, because these didn't come from the bank itself. These didn't come from a press. These came from a Loomis facility, which are always recirculating the ATMs and going back to banks and going back to different locations. So yeah, there was no way to track these bills other than just like the brandings they had on them, basically.
Exactly. So the police now had a daunting task ahead of them, trying to figure out who, if anyone, helped David Ghant pull off this heist. So they began questioning everyone who worked with David, as well as friends and even old army buddies, to try and see if anyone might know why or how he might have done this. It wasn't long before other Loomis Fargo employees told police about a former employee and good friend of David's, Kelly Campbell. Kelly had worked for Loomis, but had left a few months prior to the robbery. Fellow employees told police that David and Kelly had grown quite close during her time working there, even as far as hanging out after their shifts. But when the police questioned Kelly about her relationship with David, she quickly told them that the two were in fact not close friends at all, and that she hadn't spoken with him since she had left Loomis. Now this, of course, didn't sit well with the investigators, who at this point already had multiple witnesses saying the opposite. So the cops started focusing on people spending a lot of money.
Oh yeah, it's great when you walk up to somebody. It's like, oh, do you know David Gant? I haven't seen David. I don't know David. Why are you asking about David? I haven't seen David. What? Who? David?
Rabbit pickup truck? Never heard of him.
Mexico? What? I mean, no, he didn't. What?
Robbery? What am I saying? But while running through some of Kelly Campbell's friends and acquaintances, police came across the name Steve Chambers, a small-time criminal who had already had a few run-ins with the police in the past. He had gone to high school with Kelly, and the two had remained close friends over the years. Steve quickly became a person of interest when just a few weeks after the heist, a normally unemployed small-timer moved him and his wife from their mobile home in Vail all the way to a $650,000 home in the exclusive gated community of Kramer Mountain in Cramerton, North Carolina.
God, that's 650 in 1997. That neighborhood, we know that neighborhood.
Those houses are well over $1 million now.
Oh, those are clearly almost $2 million houses.
Which is a lot for the Carolinas.
Oh, they are.
This isn't California.
It is a fancy ass neighborhood. I've had some friends. It's fucking fancy.
Yes, I actually used to read meters for that city, and I used to read that neighborhood. So I've been to literally every house in that neighborhood, and it is incredible. They have a full country club in the middle of the neighborhood, complete with a golf course, pool. Putt. Oh my God. Disc golf. It's got it all.
It's a strange, like, old money neighborhood, like the middle of like rural North Carolina. Kind of weird.
And it really is just like on the side of a mountain. It's like there's hardly any flat land other than like where they put the tennis courts and the pool and whatnot. It's pretty crazy.
I do love the just pure impatience of Steve. Like, he told everybody, he's like, oh, we're not going to spend any of the money. We're going to hold on to it for months, and we're going to wait till it gets, like 2-3 weeks after he's gone. He's like, I mean,
that's enough time, right? What if we just blow all this money?
Like a house. I mean, that wouldn't be suspicious, right? Like a house, right?
No.
Like
Maybe a couple cars?
Like 3 weeks after this massive robbery right down the road. No. That would be weird.
Right? Mobile home to a house? The IRS doesn't even care.
No, I mean, you got the cash. Why would they care?
A mansion, rather, not a house. What's up, creepers? This week's episode is brought to you by Factor. Factormeals.com/creeper50. Use code creeper50. You might find yourself looking for nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you on your jam-packed days, right? But time is of the essence. But that's okay, because Factor's got your back. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. They can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time. You'll stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Are you one of those prepper people? Are you a meal prepper? Cross the meal prepping off your list, and while you're at it, go ahead and cross off meal planning, grocery shopping, prepping, cleaning up, all that stuff. And get Factor's fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door. They're ready in 2 minutes. All you gotta do is heat it up and eat it up. Factor has calorie-conscious options that won't skimp on the flavor, right? Try delicious, dietitian-approved, calorie-smart meals with around or less than 550 calories per serving. Or try Protein Plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. Let's go. Another thing I love about Factor is that they are 100% sustainable. They offset 100% of their delivery emissions and source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered right to your door. Ready in 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/creeper50 and use code creeper50 to get 50% off. That's code creeper50 at factormeals.com/creeper50. to get 50% off. Go. You can pause the show. But wouldn't you know it, good old Steve paid cash for his down payment for his new mansion. And you know, as you do when you're buying a spur-of-the-moment dream home with all the money that you suddenly inherited, Andy, that's pretty much par for the course. Now, not only did Steve buy a new house with cash, but he also bought a new SUV, a BMW for his wife, thousands of dollars in decorations and art pieces, plastic surgery, including new breasts and a new nose for his wife, as well as purchasing a small furniture store in downtown Gastonia, because you gotta launder this money somehow, Andy.
You gotta find a way to make this look
I think
official,
it's a little
right?
late for that. I think you're supposed to launder the money and then buy a huge home.
Yeah, right.
You can't just buy a huge home and be like, this is how I made the money.
Yeah, he starts telling people in the neighborhood, like his wife's like, oh, he's like an ex-Cowboys football player, and he inherited a bunch of money, and he owns these businesses in Texas, and like I think one of the neighbors, like the mayor of Cramerton at the time, she was like, oh yeah, what's his name? When did he play for the Cowboys? And she's like, it was like a while, because like apparently she was a big Cowboys fan.
It was a farm team.
She's like, who?
It was their Canadian team. It was
their minor league.
Yeah, but they still get paid well.
Yeah.
But no, Steve's close friends and family were also starting to spend a little more than any of them should have been. One of the heist members even went as far as taking 3 weeks off of work, unpaid of course, buying a new truck as well as a new Harley that he was constantly showing off to people. But the police narrowed their focus on Steve and his wife Michelle. Steve wasn't one to travel or talk much outside of his close circle of friends, so it became difficult to find anyone who was willing to give him up. However, it was obvious to the investigators that Steve and his wife had recently come into quite a large amount of cash. Banks around that area began reporting to police that Michelle had been visiting different branches recently and always had been depositing small to medium bundles of 20s, 50s, and 100s. Even going as far one time, and we're seriously not making this up, guys. This is probably one of the dumbest things a criminal has ever said to a banker. But she asked the bank teller, how much cash can someone deposit before you have to fill out any paperwork? Don't worry, it's not drug money or anything.
Dude, she had like $200,000 in cash in like a suitcase. She's like,
Don't worry, okay?
How much, like if I just like, you just tell me when
I
can stop, okay?
Just keep laying bundles.
Don't worry, it's not drug money, not drug money.
When I see you reach for the paperwork, I'll stop, okay?
Right?
It's just, how much is one of these little slips good for? Yeah. So now not only were the police watching Steve like a hawk for any kind of slip-up, they were also watching his wife, as well as Kelly Campbell. So via wiretap, the police were able to pick up on a call that mentioned David and his location. And the cops now know that he's alive, and they also learned that Steve and Kelly were supposed to be sending him money so that he could stay in hiding. However, they still don't know exactly where David is hiding, and they still don't have any physical evidence tying Steve or Kelly to the heist. Until one day, when Michelle would make a major slip-up. One afternoon, Michelle walked into a local bank to make another deposit, like she always did. In an act of pure carelessness, one of the bundles of bills that she went to hand to the teller was still wrapped in one of the clearly labeled Wells Fargo money wraps that still bore the initials of the Loomis employee who had counted the cash at the facility that day.
Do you have any idea? That's what I'm talking about, the impatientness, like how impatient these people were that she didn't even like look at the bundles of cash she was bringing in. She was just like, here's some. Yep, that should be fine. I'll just count it when I get there. It's literally still labeled Wells Fargo. It's got the fucking bundle that exactly how much money's on there.
Right. But the discipline that it would take not to dig into this cash, I mean, especially when you're a lower income family, you know what I'm saying? Like this, it just could change their lives. And I don't know if they had children or not. The movie portrayed them having 2 children.
I believe they do. But,
they probably did.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we say this is not Ocean's 11. They didn't have like a set plan afterwards. They just kind of all assumed.
They were just kind of hoping they could buy some time and it would all blow over.
Yeah, they're like, oh, once it's gone, if they can't find David, they'll just give up, right?
And insurance will cover the crime and, you know, no harm, no foul, right? So with this careless deposit, the police now had the evidence they needed to actually tie Steve and his wife to this Loomis Fargo heist. So now all they needed to do was find David Ghant. This is where things took a darker turn for the investigation, when police overheard another conversation between Steve and Kelly one night in March of 1998. Kelly called Steve, telling him that David had been calling her and demanding that he be sent more money because he's already run through the initial $50,000. Steve, obviously not wanting to share the score of a lifetime, decided that David needed to be taken out. Steve went on to contact one of his associates and planned to have him fly down to Mexico to deal with David permanently. However, fortunately for David, the police had been able to tap Kelly's phone in the weeks prior and were able to listen in when David finally told Kelly where he was staying down in Cozumel. FBI agents were already on a flight to Mexico to apprehend him before it was too late. David was already suspicious of Steve, and lucky for him, he had actually been tipped off by one of the hitman's associates who had taken pity on David.
Oh yeah, David's like, at this point, you can tell he's realized, he's like, oh, I fucked up. Like, I'm in Mexico with 50 grand.
I just got took.
And there's nothing really ensuring they're going to send me anything. They don't have to send me anything. So yeah, he kind of like talks to, like, this guy has brought him some money like once or twice, but like the last time he came down was like 8 grand. He asked for like 50 more. The guy brought him 8. So like He meets the guy who's like one of the associates of the hitman, and the guy's just like, listen, man, I'm just going to leave you with this.
They're trying to kill you.
They're trying to kill you.
They're trying to kill you.
They're going to kill you.
Good luck.
They're going to kill you. I'm just saying. You seem like a nice guy. But like,
Yeah.
You don't seem like you really did anything wrong. I'm just saying. They're trying to kill you, dude. I'm just going to let you do with that what you will.
Exactly. But he got lucky that the FBI was actually listening to his phone calls. And on March 1st, 1998, David walked out of the hotel he was staying at in Cozumel and was immediately approached by 3 FBI agents. He has been reported as saying, quote, "Are you an FBI agent? Boy, am I glad to see you."
Oh, he did.
End
The
quote.
guy, the FBI agent was like, "Are you an FBI agent?" "Yes, I am." "Oh, I'm glad to see you." "I'm glad to see you too, David. You want to put these on?"
You want to put these on?
Yeah, David was like shaking. He's like, "Oh, thank God. Please just take me. Please just take me."
Right?
I don't want to die.
Seriously. So now with David in custody, the agents had to quietly return him to Charlotte without alerting any news organizations to keep Steve Chambers and his gang in the dark about their little failed hit on David. Thankfully, they were able to smuggle him back into the States on a commercial flight, and no one knew he was even in custody. The following day, police and FBI staged a raid on Steve Chambers' home in Kramer Mountain. He had already been under surveillance for several weeks, and neighbors had begun asking questions about the constant cars in the area.
Oh, this is like a higher class neighborhood. People are nosy as fuck. They showed in the documentary people just being like literally with like binoculars looking over police cars. Like the mayor of Cramerton lives there. She's asking a bunch of questions to police all the time.
Right. Yeah, and that seems par for the course. Luckily, Steve was not an incredibly observant man, and he didn't even notice the large amount of police approaching his home that morning. They came to the door claiming that the furniture store that Steve and his wife owned had been broken into the night before, and they needed to ask him some questions. Fortunately for everyone at the scene, he opened the door and both he and Michelle were taken into custody without a fight. It would be days after the arrest when the FBI searched Steve's home, removing nearly everything from inside the home as it was all purchased with stolen money, and quickly moving to apprehend the remaining members of Steve's gang. Humorously enough, after the initial robbery, Steve had sworn all of his associates and family members to secrecy and told them not to say a word about the score to anyone. But as soon as Steve was in custody, this mastermind behind the whole operation flipped on each and every one of his fellow heist mates, as well as the other friends and family members that he used to open safety deposit boxes to help hide some of the cash.
Oh, Steve was not a loyal man. Like, it was not even like it was like, oh, who's arresting me? Okay, so it was, okay,
All
hold
right,
on. Can I get a pen? Can I get a pen? It was this. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'll tell you right now. Don't put me in the car. Don't put me in the car. I'll be right.
How much time off can I get per name?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Don't even have to handcuff me. I'll tell you right now. Let's go. You can take the Elvis painting. You can take the...
Exactly. But on March 12th, less than 2 weeks after David Ghant was found in Mexico, the district attorney indicted the 8 conspirators on all charges of bank larceny and money laundering. An additional 13 others would be brought in on charges as well, mostly accessories to the crime. All 8 of the members of Steve's gang, including David Ghant, Kelly Campbell, and Michelle Chambers, were given sentences ranging from 6 to 11 years. Steve received the longest sentence of the group for not only orchestrating the robbery, but also attempting to have David assassinated while he was in Mexico. In total, there were 20 people who pled guilty to their charges, with only Steve's lawyer pleading not guilty, of course. At the time of this recording, each of the members of the locally dubbed Hillbilly Heist are all out of prison and have returned to somewhat normal lives, with David being a consultant on the hit film Masterminds, and Steve even opening his own gym in Lowell, North Carolina. Steve now considers himself to be a retired criminal who doesn't want to be in the spotlight anymore. Meanwhile, David has gone on to give countless interviews as well as a Reddit AMA session and has been the subject of multiple documentaries.
Oh, that AMA session is pretty good too. If you guys, it's in our sources below, the AMA session he did. There's some pretty funny questions on there, and he is blunt, like straightforward with all his answers and stuff. Like he's not really holding anything back anymore. He's very open about all this.
Yeah, why not, right? Embrace it. A little fun fact, remarkably, most of the money was either found or accounted for by the purchases made by Steve and his gang. But there is still about $2 million that to this very day is still missing. Maybe it'll show up, Andy, but I seriously doubt it.
I don't think it's ever going to show up in any kind of that same way that the last time did.
And, I know he'll never say, and I don't blame him, but I hope David got it. I hope he buried it in a barrel somewhere. He was able to get one barrel away from them or something. Or maybe he went back to the van before he took off and got a little bit more, There was $3 million in there.
Yeah.
But that was probably recovered. That was all recovered in evidence.
I feel like there's had maybe like Kelly stashed some for him or some. I feel like David did get some. That's one of the questions in the AMA. It's like, where's that $2 million, David? And he's like, I don't know. I only took the $50,000 to Mexico. And they're like, would you say if you knew? Haha. No.
Nah, it's buried somewhere, man. That barrel is still buried, or he's tapped into it now. But good for him. I mean, he served his time, right? And, he was taken advantage of in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah, to an extent. David
you still got to make your own decisions, and he still put the money in the van and drove it out of there.
Yeah, he left his wife, he left his life, he completely made this decision because he did. He thought, he's like, if I can do this, if I can pull this off, this is an entire game changer. This is set for life, millionaire on a private beach somewhere in Mexico, with my new girlfriend, Kelly, and I'll never have to work again. I mean, he talks openly about how he had felt like he was stuck in life, how he was making like $8 an hour. He wasn't going anywhere. He hated this job. It was really boring. So
$8 an hour to protect millions.
Yeah, it's a crazy, hard job. Those guys talk about that, being around that much money and having to like protect this with your life, and you're only being paid sometimes minimum wage to like $20 an hour.
Yep. Well, guys, that is the story of the famous Loomis Fargo heist. It happened right here in our neck of the woods, Andy. Right here. There ain't many crazy cases around here that make it to Hollywood.
I mean, there's the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Wasn't that real? Like, wait a minute, hold on. I don't think
Talladega Nights is a true story, Andy.
Oh, God damn it. That shares my whole world.
But guys, we hope you enjoyed this little break that we decided to take, from darker topics and whatnot. This little heist. We like to throw these in here. These are some of our favorite episodes. We can joke around a little bit more, be a little more lighthearted in the video and whatnot. And of course, it's always funny to have a Hollywood adaptation to pull from for these cases. If you guys have not seen the movie Masterminds, please go watch that. I think you can watch it on. It's on one of the streaming services, right? Is it Hulu? I think it's on Hulu.
It might be. It is very funny. It's Zack Galifinakis, Owen Wilson, Jason Sudeikis, Kate McKinnon.
It's worth a watch.
Very fucking funny.
Absolutely, very funny. Worth a watch. And tell you what else is worth keeping an eye on, and that's Oh My Gaia, Andy.
That is worth keeping a nose on.
That is very true.
It's worth keeping a nose on.
Keep it in your sense, right? Oh My Gaia is an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while still maintaining effectiveness. Guys, there's tons of scents to choose from. We even have our very own scent, True Crime Pine, that Wendy over at Oh My Gaia made just for us years ago. When she first came on, it has our old school podcast logo. That is a great scent to choose from, but there are tons on ohmygaia.com. That's ohmygaia.com. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can use the code word CREEPER for 15% off your order. That's CREEPER for 15% off at ohmygaia.com. That's ohmygaia.com. You guys will not regret it. There's also beard oils and scented oils.
I
with
recommend
natural deodorants.
Some beard oils are great in the wintertime. They keep your beard all nice and soft. They smell nice.
Absolutely.
I recommend the beard oils.
It's a good defense against this cold wind.
Keep your face all nice and moisturized and smell great.
That's right. Well, all right, guys. Next week, we'll probably be back with something crazy, something dark, some other murder, But we hope you guys enjoyed this case. And like I said, if you're unaware of the Masterminds movie, please go check that out. It is worth a laugh. It really is. And, it's historically accurate enough. That's what I like to call.
It's inspired by a true story.
It's inspired by a true story.
It's like that great Mitch Hedberg joke. It's like, I saw this movie about a storm, and it inspired me to write this movie about a gorilla.
It's inspired. Hey.
It's inspired by, but it's not factual. It's not based on.
Exactly. But guys, everything we told you today, as far as we can tell, is fact. Sources to every article, every video we watched, all that good stuff is down below. Andy, did you also link the Reddit AMA?
Oh yeah,
below?
the AMA is in there as well as the documentary that they actually put out for this. That's a pretty good documentary, about an hour and 40 minutes long on this.
Right on.
But yeah, it's a really good documentary. It's one of the main sources we used.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, check out that AMA, check out that documentary, guys. If you want to know more, it is a fun case. These guys were legends. Where they were, honestly, because like Andy said, no one got hurt. There were no murders, even though they did try to kill David. They didn't, right? All's well that ends well. I love how I love Jason Sudeikis' character in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
I love how he doesn't end up getting killed, and I just love that crazy psychotic hitman. But yes,
couple hillbilly heroes around here.
Couple hillbilly heroes.
Hillbilly
That's
heist.
right.
Couple hillbilly heroes, baby.
We got to go see where Steve Chamberlain's gym is.
Yeah, right.
We got to see if that thing's still there, man.
Go get a membership.
Still open. Right. See if we can get an AMA with Steve Chambers.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for this week. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, leave a comment, leave a suggestion. If you have a case that you'd like to hear us cover here on YouTube, please leave that down below. Give us a follow on social media at True Crime Guys on all of the things. And I think that's pretty much it. Other than that, I guess you just got to keep creeping.
Yeah, guys, have a happy new year. Keep going. 2024 is great for all of you guys. We're going to try and keep going as strong as we can throughout this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, give us some suggestions. Give us some things you'd like to see from us. We'd love to make this year the best we can.
All right. Well said, Andy. Well said. All right, guys, keep creeping.
Bye.